Where are my notes? There's my notes. All right, let's talk my tango.
Let's do it.
All right. I've come to really enjoy tour managing when Night Vale goes on the road. It's taken years of practice, but I think we mostly have it down. Most days are pretty predictable. Uh, eat hotel breakfast, load the van, drive to lunch, drive to the next hotel, rest a couple of hours, go to tech, do a show, load out, go to sleep, repeat. We've had our issues before. Sometimes people get tired and cranky with each other. Sometimes there's shitty weather or a technical malfunction at the theater, but we pull through. I'd like to think that some of that is because I consider myself a pretty good leader. I try to keep an in control demeanor, an even tone, a relaxed vibe, and a transparent day schedule so that the only surprises are ones no one could have predicted. I've actually passed on tour managing advice to other folks who do this for a living. I consider myself super knowledgeable in this field. Am I confident? Of course. But I'm just telling you about something I have experience in. I don't mean to boast. In fact, while I believe my approach to this while I believe my approach to this job, my style of leadership is good, it's not a foolproof secret to becoming a successful leader. You know what the number one ingredient of great leadership is, especially in my situation? Having a team of people who are good and kind and fun and all on the same page. Cecil Symphony and John Disparition have been touring together for a decade. I've been doing it with them for the last 3 years. We all know each other. We know what we do. We're all in it together as a community. The folks on the sailboat in the 1963 Japanese survival horror Matango, well, they're selfish and scared and kind of rude. There are a couple of characters trying to demonstrate leadership, notably the skipper, Sakuda. But it doesn't matter how skilled you are, if your charges all have the community spirit of a toddler, you are doomed. It's no surprise that Sakuda eventually decides he'd rather run away on his own and throw himself into the sea rather than deal with these divas. I'm positive that there's some sixth grade teacher out there who watched what Sakuda went through and were like, yeah, relatable. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
It's the best hotel you've ever stayed at, tour or
Oh my.
otherwise.
Oh, best hotel. I mean the first one that pops into my mind is the ABBA Hotel, the Reval in
Mm-hmm.
Stockholm, Sweden. I mean it's a gorgeous hotel. It's a gorgeous location. Um, it is the only hotel that has the what we termed the share elevator,
Mm-hmm.
because you can go directly from the hotel part to the backstage part via a private elevator just for the entertainment. And I think it's also like in our baby years of touring with Night Vale, it was the first European tour we went on when we learned what true glory a European continental breakfast could be.
Oh my God, with their little fruit shots
With the
and
fruit shot
like
and the
charcuterie
oh
boards
my
and
God, yeah, like we're like, oh, this is what a Scandinavian breakfast is. We're like, I understand it now. It's not just three slices of bologna and like a day old croissant. This is what it should be.
yeah, the
And then also I
Revolve.
remember
So
like the
good.
service was impeccable. Like I remember me and John lost our luggage, maybe not on that first time, but on another one. We lost our luggage and our waiter at the restaurant or the hotel restaurant like gave us a list of places to go to buy underwear and socks and jeans and sweaters because it was late fall winter in Scandinavia and we're like we might freeze to death.
Yeah, that's true.
But he like wrote out he's like here's five places. These two are really expensive. This is where I go to buy my normal shit.
Perfect.
That's service.
I
That is
loved the
service.
I love the Revolve. That's a good call. I'd forgotten about the Revolve, especially because that was our first time going to Europe and it was wild because we it was a real grab bag of hotel experiences on that
Hmm.
first tour
I'm
in
sure. I'm sure
Europe
I blocked much of that out of my memory.
because a lot of it was the way the European tours get booked is the promoters and the venues and stuff and then are all kind of in line and then they have kind of these package deals with
Yeah.
hotels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you sometimes end up staying at real janky ass
Yeah.
hotels. Because we had the one in
Yeah.
Copenhagen that you and I
Yep.
shared a
That's
room
yes.
that if
Where
you
they were.
turned on the sink,
Uh-huh.
water came up from the floor.
Uh-huh. And they were replacing the glass in the windows of our hotel while we were in the room. That was fun.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. Um,
I think it's also the idea of like a hotel. It's just my experience is that hotels in Europe and the UK are like 1 star or 5 star, very little in between.
yeah, yeah, you're either at the Travelodge or the Omni
Hmm.
sort
That's
of
it.
thing. Yeah.
That's it.
I think for me, hotel is so much about expectation. So there's been times where I've had a really, really nice stay at like a Super 8 on a highway
Hmm.
in North Carolina or some shit like
Sure.
that. And
Sure.
because you're just like stopping for the night and you're like, I kind of just, we'll just keep moving on after this. And you get in and everything's really clean. The people are really nice. Everything's
Yeah.
really chill. You have a beautiful view. I'm like, what? I'm paying like $70 for this night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's
I've
like
paid
three restaurants.
200 for
There's three restaurants within walking distance.
yes. Yeah. But the first time we stayed at the Hampton Inn in Warsaw, that was one where I was like, "Oh, this is levels above any other Hampton Inn I
Yeah.
have ever been in." I will
Yeah.
never say that is the nicest hotel I've ever been in,
No.
but for expectations, I was like, "Holy shit, this is so great." Well, we don't get much of a hotel stay in this movie.
Is Night Vale ever going to do a yacht tour where we're like Key Largo, Key West, Boca Raton?
The Night Vale cruise. We did the
Uh-huh.
Joko cruise one year back in like 2016,
Oh
I think
God,
it
and what
was.
fun that was.
It was fun. It was really fun. And I know there's a lot of bands. Like 311 was the first band I ever heard of that did their own tour boat.
Oh,
And I think
whoa.
other bands have gone that have like kind of a big cult following will do the tour boat thing. It would be so tough. I mean, you and me, Symphony, John, we all have sea legs. Poor
Hmm.
Meg and Joseph do not have sea
Yeah,
legs at
we could have
all.
to we could have to get them those wristbands.
Those copper,
Hmm.
like the little
Or the
knobs.
pressure my boyfriend gets a little bit of he gets land sickness. So like when he
Oh,
gets done, like when he's
oh,
on a boat and
yes.
then he gets off and he's like, "Whoa, my shower's moving." But he has these like little wristbands that are not the cop, but they just push your pressure points
Oh,
on
I
your
see.
wrist, and he
Okay.
says they help.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't have any problem on the boat when we did that cruise. It was my
No,
first time on
same.
like a long ship trek. But when I got home, like the week after, every time I was in an elevator or a
Hmm.
shower,
Yeah,
everything started spinning.
yeah, land sickness.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had forgotten going into this movie when I started watching this last night because it had been about a week since we recorded.
Sure,
And in my head, I was like, oh, 1960s Japanese monster movie.
sure.
And so it was nice kind of going into this and it totally fresh as in like, what, I don't even know what's going to happen. I forgot
Hmm.
that it was I forget who suggested this film to us on Letterboxd, but they described it as Gilligan's Island with mushroom monster people.
Oh, absolutely.
And about halfway through when they reach that island, I'm like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
now
Uh-huh.
I remember.
You forgot the description.
Thank Christ, this is going to be fun.
I mean, this is literally Gilligan's Island meets The Last of Us with a little bit of Lord of the Flies thrown in for good measure.
Hmm.
And I have to say, like, this movie is a little slow in the beginning,
Yeah.
which I'm kind of okay with. I like a good setup, but really, like, okay, sure, the mushroom people, absolutely. Like, we
Yeah.
get there in the end for sure. But a lot of the tension of this movie is survival horror. And it's kind
Yes.
of the call is coming from inside the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a bunch of people who are not conditioned to do much. There's a very strong theme of class divide in
Oh,
this
yeah.
film. Very, very strong. Um, and it's yeah. And so when people get when they get trapped on this island, they are not equipped to know how to deal with anything. Only the ship's captain, only or the skipper,
Yeah.
uh, is Sakuda
Mhm.
is really. Does he have his mind? Does he have his?
Level-headed, I
Yeah,
guess.
he's the only Virgo in the group. Like he's the only one
Hmm.
who's like, let
Yeah.
us. We need an agenda. We need a
We need to
list of
divide the
things.
work equally.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to do a thing. We're going to hang together. And everyone else is like, I want to do this. Fuck you. I'm going to do this.
Uh-huh. So yeah, survival horror I think is exactly what this is. Yeah, that twinge of Lord of the
It's scary.
Flies. Yeah.
Like honestly, the mid bit, which is kind of the quote unquote slow bit, was sort of the scariest part because these people get unhinged quick.
Yeah. This is also a movie that I thought of towards the end. It gets real hokey 60s.
It does.
That the mushroom costumed people
The
and
laughing
the
mushrooms,
giggly mushrooms.
the giggly mushrooms, Jeff. Oh, I loved it. I loved every
I,
moment of
I
it.
did too. But I also thought I think you could remake this movie
Sure.
in today's day and age and have it be really less campy
Yes.
and more actual like psychological horror about,
Yeah.
losing yourself to the mushrooms sort of
Yeah.
thing.
It's a movie that came out last year, I want to say that it kind of got swept under the radar, but it's called Triangle of Sadness.
Yes.
Have you seen
I
this?
have not. I know what you're talking
Um,
about though.
but like I watched and I was like, this movie reminded me the difference between comedy and satire.
Mm-hmm.
Because satire can be funny, but it's a different flavor of funny. It
Yes.
has a different objective
Yeah.
than whatever makes you laugh. People tripping, miscommunication. But like, I don't want to say too much about it, but it very much, well, it happens on a boat
Hmm.
and it very much satires class disparity and kind of what happens when you are far away from the trappings of the world. And
Yes.
those lines get blurry.
It's funny because I'm wearing a t-shirt for maybe my favorite fiction podcast of all time called This Sounds Serious,
Oh,
which was a comedy podcast that came out, I don't know, I want to say like 2016 maybe, and it
okay.
was came out at the same time, roughly the same time as The Onion produced another comedy fiction podcast called A Very Fatal Murder.
Okay.
And both This Sounds Serious and A Very Fatal Murder were send ups of the true crime genre. So they were
Oh,
both
of
done
course.
in the
Of
style of
course.
true crime. And it was kind of right around the time we were all going ape shit over true crime podcasts.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then there was a little bit of a backlash about is this copacetic? Like, is this
Yeah.
kosher that we're kind of like, reveling in all of these horrible, horrible murders and
We're
crimes?
all armchair detectives that are being
Yes.
like talking about what very real people have experienced.
But A Very Fatal Murder from The Onion, every second of it, it is funny, but every second of it is just making fun of how goofy these true crime
Hmm.
podcasts
Hmm.
are.
Hmm.
Whereas This Sounds Serious is like, no, we're just going to take the form
Hmm.
and just make it a funny true crime podcast.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's not making fun of the form at all. It questions it a little bit, but it's not making fun. And when you talk about the difference between satire and comedy, that's where it is. It's like, are you taking a scalpel to cut open your
Yes.
subject, or are
Yeah.
you simply just making a model of the subject?
Yeah.
Those are two different things. This movie doesn't really do much in the realm of satire, but it is definitely needling class, is
Oh,
what
yeah.
it's doing.
I think this, like, it really does. Okay, so let's talk about, and I think in order to gateway into that is kind of let's talk about our seven going on
Mhm.
the 3 hour tour on this pleasure cruise.
Well, we have sort of our protagonist. He's our uh he narrates the beginning. We see him
Yes.
in the insane asylum in
Yeah.
Tokyo, being like, "Well, I'm not insane. Everyone knows it, though." But if
They're
they
all
only knew,
dead, or
yeah,
maybe I'm dead and they're alive. Who knows?
hear
You
me
think
out.
I'm crazy. Here's my story.
So that is Mirai.
He's a professor. So we've got it. We already our Gilligan Island parallel number one.
Uh-huh. Then we have Kasai, and he is the ship's owner, the yacht owner. He
Yes.
is a billionaire business mogul from Tokyo.
That's was it Mr. Howell,
Yeah,
the
yep.
billionaire?
Uh-huh.
We sort of have his wife, but we really have more of a movie star,
Yeah, yeah, we have the movie star, which is
Mamie.
Sekiguchi. Yeah, Mamie Sekiguchi. She is the lounge singer, beauty.
Listen, she is chef's kiss
Uh-huh.
because I love the fact that this lady might be dying of hunger on an island, but she still has a full face of makeup on.
Yes. We also have Yoshida, who is the famous mystery writer guy,
Yeah.
who is a
Like
little bit more he's a little bit more goobery, I
he
guess.
kind of he's kind of giving me like straight um Truman Capote.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like he's a writer, but he's also a socialite who writes about his social people around him, and that's how he makes his beautiful best-selling his murder novels or whatever.
Yes. And then we have Akiko, who is the student, who is a student and the girlfriend of Mirai.
Marianne.
There you go.
Like it's a you know it's a an unspoken love.
Yeah. And then we have Sakura, the skipper.
Yeah,
So again, Gilligan's Island, sort of
yeah.
easy transfer. I think the one wild card in this, I think, is Koyama, who is the fisherman or the basically the captain's assistant.
He's Gilligan.
He's the second in command, but he's
Yeah,
evil Gilligan.
he is evil Gilligan. Like he's like lecherous Gilligan. He's like anarchist Gilligan.
Yeah, he's scary, and it's where that all of those Gilligan tropes set up,
Hmm.
and then you have this Gilligan-y character, and as it goes on, his insanity gets it's a little bit like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. You're like, that's
Yeah.
not the character I remember.
Uh-uh. And what's interesting, every single one of these characters kind of have the face front, and then sort of once the wheels come off the bus, the dark side emerges
Hmm.
in very different ways.
Yeah, but we've got this opening thing of the skyline of Tokyo from the window of this high-rise medical center, and Mirai in his, in his ward, sane
Hmm.
asylum sort of thing, talking in, maybe I'm insane too, but who knows? La, la, la. And then cut to jaunty music,
Oh my
daytime,
God.
and a sailboat.
Boop, 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 ba-doop, ba-doop, boop, boop. Not only that, we're on the sailboat. Somebody pulls out a ukulele.
Oh yeah,
We get a
baby.
little ukulele song. La 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 la.
So 60s. I just loved it. I loved this. I loved this
Like
setup.
the bikini, the bathing suits, the sunglasses. I think it's interesting at this time, like, I was reading like a write-up of this movie that was very much talking about like what Japanese society was happening in the 60s. And it was this idea of like this new generation of the writer, the businessman that were kind of sort of divesting from traditional Japanese history and values into
Hmm.
being more quote unquote Western or modern.
Hmm.
And they like, and we have maybe kind of being like, oh, yeah, I'm with this rich dude. And someday he's going to take me to Paris. He's going to take me to Berlin. He's going to take me to Vienna. And, I kind of like him. That's cool. Like, like the 60s are like we've got kind of a crack open of like we're looking at some traditional shit and people are like, I don't know, what if we didn't do that? What
Yeah.
if we played fast and loose and like there's a lot of money coming in and like there's new businesses going up and these new business owners are kind of like these little they got yachts we could just it's a new leisure class is emerging.
Yeah. And they make a specific point of when they toast their that first night out on the ship of like, we've left the city, we've escaped
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
city, and it's you're shaking the bonds of what society expects from
Yeah.
you to be, and just having fun. I mean, that's kind of what we do. It's a very American concept of TGIF. Let's go away with friends
Yeah.
and drink beer in the woods, sort of thing, and that's sort of what they're doing. I do love that Kasai, the billionaire owner of this ship, he's the one wearing the silly
Uh-huh.
captain's cap,
Yes.
the classic white
Yeah, yeah,
captain's
yeah.
cap with the little seal in the front, and it takes a second for me to process because of costuming that Sakura, who's just in all black,
Yeah.
black shirt and pants, black hair, whatever. It's just kind of very plain looking.
Hmm.
That he's the skipper, he's the captain of the
He's the
ship.
one who actually knows how the boat works.
Yes.
But Kasai paid for the boat, so he's the one who gets to like put his hands on the wheel and go, "Look at me, I'm a captain," you
Yeah.
know?
Beep beep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yo, you're absolutely driving the ship.
Hmm.
And then as soon as shit starts, like as soon as the weather rolls in, he kind of fucks him.
Yeah, because it's basically like we can't turn this ship around. The weather's rolling in. That great, but you want to tell all these people, you know, you can't tell these people no. You can't say
I
we're
know.
turning it around.
What's that horrible amazing Bravo TV show Below Decks?
Oh yes, I've never seen this show.
I've only seen clips of it, but it does kind of feel like, well, I don't know. They want us to sail straight into this storm because, well, they're paying for it, but we're also human lives on this boat.
Yeah. So it eventually gets, you know, so bad
Yeah,
that uh, that the skipper is basically like, we are definitely turning this around.
yeah.
And so it's all hands on deck. We've got to bring
Hmm.
this sail down. We got to move this mast over. We got to do this thing. But they are getting wind lashed, and
Yeah.
eventually the main mast breaks.
The main mast breaks. They have like a sort of a backup motor that gets waterlogged.
Hmm.
Their radio equipment gets just like water dumped on it, which I'm like, uh, that's not what.
No, I mean, yeah.
I'm like, surely there's a better place to put this,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
or something has gone terribly wrong. But
Yep.
yeah, so they are now ship, pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
So they're just floating in a sea of fog.
Yeah. So we'd already kind of seen going into this before we get to this island, we'd kind of seen some of the, we open with such joy and happiness and bright
Yeah,
colors and song, and even just the song is just la la la. Those are the
that's it.
lyrics.
Those are the
It's
lyrics.
not English, it's not Japanese. There's just kind of an empty joy
Yeah.
to this trip, but there's like little hints of seediness or shittiness.
Hmm.
There's a moment where Yoshida, the writer, is talking to Mirai and saying like, "Oh, I hear you teach psychology.
Hmm.
I hear you just kind of be kind of mean to your students and then really nice, and those girls will all fall
That's
for
how you get
you."
all the ladies.
And Mirai's so funny. He's like, "That's not at all how psychology works."
Hmm. Or the fact that, our Marianne, Soma is like she's not having a bad time, but she's just a little more withdrawn, and everyone's kind of like picking on her.
Hmm.
There's definitely some like underlying cracks in
Yes.
this friend group.
Yeah. Yeah. There's they are not. They are not designed for any type of turmoil whatsoever. They're
No,
designed for empty fun.
indoor
Um,
cats.
yes, they are indoor cats. So the storm hits. They're safe from the storm that next morning, but the shift is adrift in fog.
Hmm.
Mami Sekiguchi, the singer, she tries to put on the radio as a way of just like, let's have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And Kasai comes in and is like, don't waste the battery. She's like, well, what about the news? So
I
we
know.
turn on the news and we get the report of their missing boat.
That must be so wild
Hmm.
to like hear, and they literally list all their names. They're like, this person, this person, this person have all been lost at sea. We do not know where they are. And
Uh-huh.
then their battery dies.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck. We are on the news. Oh, no.
This brings about the question to me, or this next scene brings about a question for me. So this next scene is as we're kind of like searching the horizon.
Mhm.
Yoshida is out on the deck of the ship and he sees a giant like tanker
Yeah.
coming right at them, and he's waving like, help, help, and he realizes they can't see him, and this thing comes right at their boat, and then he wakes up. So it's a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah.
But it brought about the question that first kind of nightmare moment, that
Hmm.
internal imagery brought about the question of like, is this place even real? Is this like a
I
lost
know.
sort of thing? Are they in some
Yeah.
sort of limbo space of
Is it like
life
the
and
life?
death?
It's like the life of Pi kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
where like, because we know one person makes it out. Did he just sort of fantasize this entire thing?
Yeah. And it's interesting that he's the psychology professor and he
I
has no
know.
memory of how he even got
Uh-huh.
rescued, et cetera, et
No.
cetera, et cetera.
But yeah, that moment is very odd because we're going to get that one and the first encounter with the inhabitants of the island are are like waking dreams, and
Hmm.
they're presented as fact in the film, and then kind of be like, oh, nope, no, the person wakes up.
Yeah.
But do they?
Yeah. That's a
Did that
great
happen? Did
question.
it happen?
Almost every character from the ship has a moment of a
Hmm.
flashback, a
Yeah.
memory, which ostensibly is just a way of showing how they miss real
Hmm.
life. Of like Akiko, like hearing her mother talking to her,
Yeah.
or Mamie hearing, remembering singing.
Singing in the club.
Mhm.
I think it's Yoshida. I mean, he has a whole like. Is he the one who has the like 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 eats psychedelic mushrooms, sees burlesque?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Um, yeah, we
I
have
think
that. And
it's
he
him.
and his first, before he even eats a mushroom, he has this. He's just staring into the fire,
Yeah.
and he just has this long memory of being in the club with Kasai,
Hmm.
Mirai, Akiko, watching Mamie perform, and having this like conversation, this kind of like hoity-toity society
Yeah.
conversation, very like parlor, like what is true authorship? Isn't
What is
everything based
art?
on something else?
Aren't we just repeating what the greats have done before us? And he's and that's when I think he says he's like this very Truman Capote kind of thing of like I hang out with interesting people and then I just blatantly rip off their lives and that's how I write interesting art. Suck it. Suck on it.
Which goes back to the class thing, because they're all in a nightclub. They've got bottle. There's like a
Oh
full
yeah.
bottle of whiskey on their
Yeah.
table. They're all in like it's all black tie,
Oh yeah.
and it's like a glitter and bright lights and beautiful women and boas and feathers, and it's really extravagant compared to our two paid by the hour guys who run a ship.
Sure. Yeah.
And the idea that they are the wealthy or the upper class are the leeches of society. I just find interesting people and take their stories, and then I get
Hmm.
paid lots of money to print
Hmm.
those stories. So we finally find uh, this island. We see it
Island
in
in
the
the mist.
but there's a there's a question of like Akiko asks like, are we even in Japan anymore?
I know, right? Have we floated? Somebody said, I think it's Sakuda says we've we're floating south. How he knows that? Question mark. Because
Sunlight, I guess, if you can see the
sunlight, I suppose, but it's
yeah.
all foggy. Like it's very mysterious. There's no
Hmm.
stars. It's just nothing but fog. And they're like, have we floated to the like to the equator?
Yeah, yeah. It's a long way from Japan.
That is true.
So they get to this island, and good news, the island is covered in trees. It's also covered
Sure.
in tall rocky mountains, but it
Yeah.
is covered in trees.
Okay.
So it is not a desert island, but is it a deserted island?
Yes.
But if we know it's not a desert island, we know there's water.
Yeah.
And where there's water, there's going to be food, so we should be okay.
So everybody kind of gets off the ship. They all kind of swim to shore. They
Hmm.
drop anchor. So okay, so the ship is safe. And then they go on the hunt for anything because they've been floating for like a few days.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and they're all running out of water, running out of
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
One of the first things that they come across is a maraschino cherry tree.
Oh my God. Absolutely. 100% a maraschino cherry tree.
And Koyama grabs one of these bright red berries off the tree. I remember from Boy Scouts, I wasn't in Cub Scouts or what Webelos or
Yeah,
whatever it's
yeah, yeah.
called for very long, but they didn't really get into how to forage. But
Hmm.
I do remember one of our counselor people said something along the lines of like, it's the single berries you don't want to eat. Like any berry you
Oh,
find in a bunch is
and a
probably
cluster.
fine. Yeah,
Okay,
but
okay.
single berries tend to be not good. But he
Mm-hmm.
pulls this beautiful bright red, I mean, it is fruit salad
Yeah,
red berry off the tree, tries it, and immediately spits it out, which I
yeah,
love this moment because it suggests there is water, water everywhere, but not a drop
yeah,
to drink. There
yeah.
is flora aplenty,
Hmm.
but can you eat any of it?
I think it also is, we're starting to see Koyama as the like the sort of like he's the basest
Uh-huh.
of us to be like, there's a thing I'm gonna put in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, is it food? I don't know. Let's try. No, not food. And then I think later he's like, we need to go to this island. We need to lick every plant.
Uh-huh.
We need to eat. Like he's the one who's like, yes, people will die. Yes,
Yeah.
we may get horribly sick, but this is how we survive.
Yeah. Just really interesting because he's a super unlikable character. What with
Hmm.
like 3 days in, he's like, I'm sexually frustrated and I want to
Yeah,
attack these women.
yeah,
But also he has this the as you said, like this
pragmatic.
basest
Yeah.
instinct of it's not hunting sitting around with a gun waiting for
Hmm.
birds to appear.
Yeah,
Hunting and gathering is about actually going out and trying it at
yeah,
risk of getting ill and tired, but
yeah,
we're gonna die otherwise, so pull your shit together. So, but he also notices like a little spring, but he says,
oh,
it's there's like little rocks built around this spring,
yeah,
this natural spring water. They were placed by humans. This isn't a natural formation.
yeah.
And they get to the top of this giant fucking hill and look out, and there's a ship. It appears to be a pirate ship.
I know
This,
it's a big ship,
uh,
the big one.
this is a big one. And they get down there and they realize this thing is trashed. Like all the sails are shredded. No
Mhm.
one's on board. There is what looks like mud covering every surface of the inside.
But like multicolored Technicolor mud.
Uh-huh.
I love that each room is like a different color
Yeah.
of moss slash mold.
Uh-huh.
This is pretty spooky. Like, I love this as a location, this sort of shipwrecked, dilapidated ship, which they end up living on.
Yeah.
Like they're not like, we're not going to build our own little structure. There's caves. We actually see somebody go into a cave. I'm like, oh, there's a structure. Oh, no, no, we're going into the Technicolor mold ship is where we're going to be. Oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, I
Hmm.
guess, shelter. Sure.
They
But
get
it's
it.
also everything has a thick layer of red, green, yellow spores all over it.
It's disgusting looking, and it's Mirai who finally kind of takes a brawny paper towel and
Hmm.
wipes one of the port windows, and they look at it closely and realize this is fungus. This is
Yeah.
mushrooms,
Yeah.
basically. They also find this laboratory,
Uh-huh.
and it's
Yeah.
Sakura who is like, this looks like I think this must have been an ocean research vessel. And then they find a laboratory that
Yeah.
is mold free.
Yes.
There's like a cabinet full of jars with little animals floating in liquid.
Hmm.
And there's a radiation detection
Yeah.
device.
They find like a Geiger counter and they're like, this is like USSR built. This is Japanese. This is American. Like, who were these people?
Yeah.
Were they studying the effects of atomic weapons on
Hmm.
ocean life? Which, as we know, since this is, the director of Godzilla, very front and center.
Yeah. Yeah, they this kind of I kind of like that this sort of goes nowhere. Like part of my
Yeah.
brain is like, I want to know more about what they were
Yeah.
studying. but it's not really ever going to answer it. And I think that's actually way more compelling. There's a real like TV show Lost element to that, whereas in that the early couple seasons of Lost were so much fun because you're like, what's the Dharma Initiative? What is these
Yeah,
people?
who
Why
are
is
the
there a polar
others?
bear?
Yeah,
And who are the others? And that sort of feeling is really
yeah,
it's a fun creepy, it's a fun mystery to have in your head. And I think it says enough to by the end you're like, well, I think I know what happened here without them
yeah,
spelling it out. It's pretty clear that
yeah.
they went into the delicious mushroom swamp and were like,
Mhm.
wee!
Mm. Giggly mushrooms. Now, the one thing they do find on this ship is a giant crate with a like 3 foot tall toadstool mushroom inside of it
And it says
called
Matongo.
Matongo. I love it. It's in like cursive.
Yeah, like the kind of cursive that you'll see like a high school baseball team have their name spelled out
Yes.
on their hat or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's branded Matongo. So we got to this by rolling
Cryptid.
cryptid.
Yes.
And actually, I went on, I was like, oh, cryptomycology is a study.
Hmm.
It's mostly around the like mythology around mushrooms, but I did find one reference on the internet. Mostly mushrooms that move are not a thing.
Hmm.
Mushroom people, not a thing, except
Okay.
in the jungles of, I think, Colombia, there is a myth about a mushroom person hybrid that comes out of the jungle and like eats people's cattle.
Oh.
And then like during the rainy season and kind of like retreats back into it's the only cryptomycology like mushroom person myth that is actually like quote unquote true. Very rare.
Interesting.
It
Interesting.
has a name. I can't remember what it is. I'm very
Yeah.
sorry.
So we have mystery ship. We're gonna get it all cleaned up and live in it, but they do notice one that the mud is actually mold.
Yeah.
They also realize it's empty, but there
Hmm.
are no corpses
Yeah.
here. So where did they go? Did they get off the island? Did they
Yeah.
die? What happened here?
Well, we know that they removed all the mirrors before they left.
Yeah, it's Mamie who discovers that.
So that's odd. But bright side, they discover entire hold filled with canned fish and food. So awesome.
Awesome. We've got like I think they say one or 2 weeks of food
Yeah.
for all 7 of us
Yes.
to live off of,
Yeah.
which means that buys us some time to go do some hunting and
Mhm.
gathering, some foraging.
And
Uh,
also to light a fire on top of the mountain to like sort of
mhm,
smoke signal, which lasts all of exactly one day before
because it's
that
rainy
plan gets
season.
before that plan gets thrown by the wayside.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's such bad timing to arrive in the land of the mushroom
Yeah.
monsters during rainy season.
It's like arriving at like, Florida during spring break. You're like,
Hmm.
no,
No.
no, why did I go to South Carolina during spring break?
Okay, so let's see. Hold on, let me find my thing. Da, 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 da. Okay, so they find the captain's quarters.
Captain's log.
Captain's log. Well, and that's the idea is that, Sakudo and
Yeah.
Mirai as well are both like, yes, there would be records here.
Yeah.
And they go looking for this and realize in reading through this, Sakuda is like, according to the ship's logs, it's a deserted island when they arrived,
Mhm.
and that it is not at all inhabitable for humans.
Yeah.
We can eat anything if we can find it,
Mhm.
but do not eat the mushrooms.
And they're like, and then it's sort of unspoken, but they're like, we infer that they started to starve. Some of them ate the mushrooms, and then all of them died.
Yeah, Mirai says the records ended when people started to disappear. So something about eating the mushrooms caused them to vanish, which means they must be poisoned mushrooms.
Makes sense.
Um,
So don't eat matango over there in the crate.
yes, no matter how Matango does not look delicious. Some of those little tiny mushrooms growing
I
on the
know.
trees, those look cute and delicious.
Like
They
little
look like
shiitake.
marzipan. Marzipan, right?
Oh, they do. They very much do.
I'm not gonna say marzipan is delicious, but I think if I were without food for 3 days, I'd be or only had
I know.
like
You're like,
spam.
I will eat the fondant. Okay, fine.
So we're starting to have we've already had a little bit of infighting before we even got to the island about how to use resources, what we should be
Hmm.
doing. But this is kind of the moment where we're starting to break a little bit because Kasai, the billionaire owner of the ship,
Yep.
has locked himself into the captain's quarters because he's not. I'm not into like sleeping in a room with a bunch of people.
He's the CEO.
Yeah, I'm
He's
the
like,
captain.
I'm a big boss man.
Yeah,
I'm not sharing quarters with like six farting, stinky other people.
yeah, which goes to like the leadership concept of like
Mhm.
unless you start if you want to be the leader, if you start demonstrating that we're all in it for ourselves,
Yeah.
that will trickle down to
Hmm.
everyone below. And that's kind of what's starting to happen. You see people like, why don't you go in there and tell him to get the fuck out here and
Yeah.
like be part of something? And Mirai does. He goes in to talk to Kasai about like, you really should be out here with the rest of us
Yeah.
and helping. And he's like, I am helping. See, I cleaned this rifle. Now we can go hunting
Okay. Which
bears or
is,
whatever.
I guess, fair point, but also, okay, sure.
But also, you could come out here and clean the rifle
Yeah.
and talk to us about your
That's a
plan.
shared resource now. That's not your rifle.
It is a pretty great rifle because it never requires loading and it has
No.
unlimited bullets.
Unlimited ammunition. I love how this movie is obsessed with water conservation, with food conservation, but ammunition, man, they're just shooting at leaves on trees.
How do Winchester work?
I don't know. I do not know.
Yeah, for my first thought, the moment he fires the gun that first time, he fires like 3 bullets at nothing. I'm like, my dude,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
save,
That
save,
is the
save.
most, that is a precious resource. Not maybe not the most precious, but you can't make a bullet.
No, because without a bullet, a rifle is just a bat.
It's just a stick. Yeah,
No.
pretty much.
Okay, so the other thing that's the other thing that's sort of happening here is that um we've got everyone sort of arguing with Sakuda about what we should be doing, and it's
Yeah.
Yoshida who's like, I'm sorry, Sakuda's plan, I should say. Sakuda's plan is here's what we're gonna do. We need to do what we can to gather and hunt,
Hmm.
keep ourselves fed, but
Hmm.
we need to go get our ship, bring it back, and do repairs.
Yeah.
Because this island, according to these logs, is really not inhabitable for long.
Yeah.
And we got to get off the island because with all this fog, I don't even know if anyone
Nobody's
will ever
gonna see
come
us.
by here.
Nobody's going to, yeah, even if somebody does happen to go by, they're not going to see us.
Yeah. So,
Exit plan.
yeah, here's our exit plan. And Yoshida, the writer, is like, yeah, in that pile of garbage, I'm not leaving. It's a no from me, dog. And says,
And you're like,
you know,
what the fuck you do? Live here?
yeah, well, and he's now like, hey, when we were on the ship, you were the captain. We're not on the ship. You're
I
not my
know.
captain.
Yikes. Yeah, this scene this is the beginning, this sort of middle act is
Mm-hmm.
really where I'm like, oh man, these people are rough. Like the psychology, the rift is now going to be hard. And it really is Yoshida who kind of, in that moment where he's like, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
I'm not on the ship anymore. But also, like, his logic clearly makes no sense of like, you're not going to get on the only thing that can take us away.
Yeah. I'm really fascinated with this, with the idea of like how leadership. I'm using leadership, but it's more just like how any system of people is structured,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily think every system needs a hierarchical nature. It doesn't
Mhm.
need a person at the top, but every kind of group of people, whether you want to call it a leader or an alpha dog or whatever it is, but there are people in the group that kind of like take charge of certain things, even in a community decided
Sure.
environment. And once you are in charge of some aspect of a group of people, that trickles down. And from the get-go, there is no clear leader of the boat because you have Sakuda, who is the ship's captain and knows how the boat works, but at no point in time does he have final say on what they do,
Right.
really. Until the ship is about to break in half, does he overrule the owner? And
Kasai.
as
Yeah.
a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, I understand that the head coach never has a say because the billionaire owner of the team will always override him. And
Sure.
it's a very common thing that happens not just in sports, but in business, but in arts groups, things like that.
Whoever writes the checks, ultimately, they can be like, no, no, we're not interfering with the content,
Yep.
with the artistic decisions, with the intellectual decisions. But when push comes to shove, they can withhold that check and everything stops flowing.
And when that and everyone down below, like say even a theatrical production, from
Mhm.
the assistant director to the cast to the basically the tech assistant who just puts up gaff tape,
Mhm.
all of those people feel that.
Yeah.
They may not recognize it directly what's happening, but that descent begins pretty quickly
Yeah.
after that. And I think this movie demonstrates it so perfectly. All right, so now we're gonna get this sense. We're gonna see each character kind of making new discoveries about the island.
Yes.
Mirai and Kasai go sit in the trees with the rifle, being like, "Where are the birds?"
Yeah. They see one,
There's one. Oh,
and
look
that
here.
bird takes a look at this island and goes, fuck no. They're like, look, there's a bird. Oh, nope, there it goes. Like this bird sees the island and does a fucking U-turn.
I had
It's
that
like,
the other day walking around. I was like, I am so thirsty, and I just want a Diet Coke or a bottle of seltzer or something. And I just saw, I was like, oh, bodega, and I started going in. I was like, just full on, just weed shop, and I was like,
oh,
full
yeah,
like
no,
walked in. Abe Simpson walked in,
no,
turned around, was like, nope, that's not what I'm looking
not
for
what I
right now.
need.
And that's what
They
that bird
also
does.
that yeah, so they're like, okay, that's weird. There's no animal life at all. Wait, something's moving in the bushes, but it kind of disappears.
Yep. And it's a little mushroomy looking, or
It is
big
a little
mushroomy
mushroomy.
looking.
Yeah. Let's see.
Sakuda and Koyama, they
Mhm.
discover more shipwrecks out in the water.
Yes. So this place has been like shipwrecking boats for a while. Like
Yeah.
whatever the coral, the reefs, the like, there are multiple shipwrecks underneath the water.
Yeah. And
Let's see.
they've left
Mamie,
Mamie and Akiko to
Mamie and
drag
fucking
water up a
Soma.
hill.
These
Um,
ladies.
I love that they're like the men all have jobs where they just get to sit and look at
Hmm.
things and make
Yeah.
analysis of them, and they've sent the women to drag
To climb a mountain.
10-gallon plastic tubs of
Uh-huh.
water up a fucking mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not lost on me either. And they run into Yoshida, and Yoshida's like, "Hey, I'm here to help you gals out."
Yeah, for the last 20 steps of
Yeah, that's
carrying
like, look,
this.
I helped. Oh,
Um, but that Kasai and Mirai actually go explore a little bit further into and they kind of find the mushroom swamp.
yeah,
And there they see the giant mushroom men and they open fire on it, but
yeah,
either miss or it doesn't do anything.
yeah,
Given the way he's holding that rifle, I'm pretty sure he missed.
yeah.
Okay, so back at the ship, back at our hotel, back at our Hampton Inn,
Uh-huh. Yep.
Fog
Our
Island.
floating Hampton Inn.
Uh-huh. Koyama is that now we're getting into the like late night drama of everyone is
Oh,
sneaking
yeah.
around
Yeah.
trying to get into the hold
Yeah.
to steal some of that canned spam.
What's like, okay, so the ladies hear someone walking around up above.
Hmm.
Kiyama's out running around, but he sees something that scares him so bad. He
Hmm.
literally dives into bed and puts the sheets over his head like a fucking 6-year-old.
Yes. Yep.
And they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing. Wasn't doing anything. Just had to pee. Didn't
Mhm.
see anything." He's also wearing sunglasses at night, which is a choice. Kasai has snuck into the food hold, has broken open, and he's like having a little salmon late night snack.
Yep. Spamming.
He's spamming. Late night spamming.
Well, it's spam. It's salmon spam is spammin.
Spamming.
SPALMON. Spammin.
Spamming burgers. Spamming croquettes.
Yeah, and he's the one who keeps the keys because
Yeah. He's the boss man.
he's the boss man. He doesn't actually want to lead anybody. He just
No.
wants to have everything his way.
Yeah.
But while he is sneaking out with like an armload of canned meat, he gets attacked by a mushroom man. And the boys come and pull him away. And now we've got Mushroom Man in the doorway of this cabin.
This is fun. This is like, okay, so this is our first horror moment,
Uh-huh.
and it's a good one because it's a lot of like there's something on the ship with us.
Hmm.
It's a lot of like shadow moving, doors creaking. Somebody get like Kasai gets sort of like attacked and pushed, but we don't get to see what it is.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, "What? What's going on? What's going on?" And it's just like wet footprints walking towards the door they're in.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of get our first reveal of Mushroom Person. Fun fact, this movie was almost banned in Japan
Oh, yeah?
because the look of not the big mushroom people, but the kind of these like lesser mushroom people, they looked like the people who had radiation poisoning and bubbles on their
Oh.
face from the nuclear bombs.
Okay.
So it's like even 20 years, it's still very present of like the after effects of World War II.
Yeah.
And it was still like pretty triggering to have people with like boils on their face.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, I could see where that would be a little bit off-putting for people
Wouldn't
to
it?
want to make. Yeah, of course. What's really interesting about this moment is, as you said, we have the wet footsteps and the mushroom, very clearly human, like clothing,
Yeah.
shoes, like
Yeah.
kind of Incredible Hulk shredded pants and
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
But they are coming at them, and then that cabin door opens, and all seven of our crew members are in the cabin staring right at this fucking thing. And then it just cuts to morning.
It just sort of dissolves.
Yeah.
Like this thing fucking fades away
Yeah.
like a dream.
Yeah.
And everybody's sitting there eating porridge at breakfast, not talking to each other.
Until Koyama stands up and is like berating them all, being like, you guys are all Tokyo elites. Like,
Mhm.
you don't know shit about anything. I'm telling you, we're going crazy here.
Yeah.
And it's because of you brought women,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all sexually frustrated and we can't handle, like I might lay my hands on her tonight, like pointing at Mamie. And it's like, what? My dude, it has been 3 days.
I know. Like maybe 5.
I'm not saying even a month without sex means you should be attacking anyone
This is
a
the
lifetime. But
this is the 24 day, or no,
yeah,
48 hours later, 24 hours later.
yeah,
No, wait,
basically,
they're like, you're like, you've been in Zombieland for a year. You don't need to repopulate the earth just yet.
right. Yeah, I think you can go like, 24 hours, 48
Yeah.
hours without having your loins drive you crazy.
Mhm.
But it's interesting because he, suggests very strongly, or says straight up, I'm going to attack her later tonight. And Mamie Sakaguchi says to everyone at the table, are you going to let him say that to me?
You're not gonna, no, this is,
Not one person
no.
defends her. And she's like, all right, there it is.
Yeah.
Truth
Yeah.
known.
Yeah.
And then we have Yoshida. And it's Yoshida jumps in,
Mhm.
not to defend her, but I think himself, because it's not until Koyama says, oh, I've seen Sakaguchi and Yoshida sneaking off to run errands, and we
Mhm.
all know what they're doing, and that's when Yoshida jumps in.
Yeah. And supposedly Kasai and Mamie are together,
Mm-hmm.
but she's having a little side affair with Yoshida.
Yep.
And Kasai he's like, I know what kind of woman she is.
Yeah. Yeah. And she just says, well, I only slept with you because I wanted to go to Europe, but that seems to be off the table. You're not attractive anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh,
This is
oof,
rough.
rough.
Now, the hard factual evidence we do get is they look out the window and they're like, were we dreaming? There's footprints in the sand,
Yeah.
in the mud.
Hmm.
We did not dream that.
Yeah.
We saw something last night. It was real.
Yeah. This is where Koyama gets into the like, this is how we have to hunt and gather. This
Mhm,
is what we
mhm.
need to do. And so we get a little bit of this montage of people going out and like looking in fields, looking for any type of food.
Yeah.
And
They're like harvesting seaweed. They're
mhm.
like, yeah, digging up tubers in the ground.
Yeah, there's some type of like root vegetable-y
Yeah.
thing that seems to be edible.
Yeah. Hey, that
Mirai like
works.
tries it. He does the thing that
Yeah.
Koyama says, like lick it, see if you die.
Yeah.
And he licks it, doesn't die, and he smiles. I love it. He licks it, pauses, and he kind of
Oh,
like smiles, like, "Aha! I found a potato."
yeah. Koyama
Mhm.
finds a nest of sea turtle eggs.
Yes.
Immediately cracks one open, and I'm like, okay, fine.
Okay.
Only if absolutely starving.
Yeah.
But before he takes those sea turtle eggs back to the ship, he finds himself a little cave and makes a little stockpile
Uh-huh.
that nobody knows except Yoshida follows him.
Is that now?
I think
I
it's Yoshida.
I
Oh no, is it
think
Kasai? Is it Kasai?
no. It is. I believe it's Sakuda who sees him do it. It's the
Oh,
captain because later, when the captain's going to take off later,
yeah.
and Koyama is going to go look for his eggs and find that they're all gone. So he,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So
Yes.
it's Sakuda who sees
Okay.
him doing this.
Okay, that makes sense. That does make sense.
So
I
Koyama, his plan is to stash his own. He's got
yeah.
his own thing, but he's
Mhm.
also going to take
But
some
take some back. Be
to
like,
the
look, I found
people.
these. And everybody's like, yay, we get two eggs each. Later that night, Kayama and Kasai, he's like, 5,000 yen.
Yeah.
Yesterday was 5,000. No, today it's 10,000.
Hmm.
You want more? 20,000.
Yeah. So he's black marketing these eggs in a group of 7 people. The other thing that happens is Yoshida is the one who takes the rifle to go hunting. And we've
Yeah.
already seen, because he drew the rifle on Koyama back
Yeah.
in over breakfast. And then also, this is where we're starting to see Yoshida get a little unhinged, but he finds his way into Mushroom Swamp.
This is giggly mushrooms.
Hmm. His whole claim is, I'm going to go, if the Mushroom Man is real, he must live in Mushroom Swamp, and I'll go down there and find him and shoot
Sure.
him. But he clearly, we don't see him in this moment eat the mushrooms, but we see him pluck one and like, this
Mhm.
looks so good.
And we've also seen him the night before kind of raid the laboratory and
Oh
find the
yeah.
alcohol.
Uh-huh.
So clearly, this is kind of like literally a gateway drug.
Yeah.
Like he is already starting to like have to numb the pain of this deserted island existence
Mm-hmm.
with something.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, alcohol leads to soma, lotus eating mushrooms.
Right, right, right. But at dinner that night, we've got all these tubers
Yeah,
and eggs, and everyone's so excited. But it's Yoshida who comes in. He's like, "Yeah, I don't need dinner. I'm
I'm
full."
good.
Mariah's like,
Did you do it? Did you eat it? You eat the mushrooms.
"Yeah,
He's like, I'm not telling you.
yeah,
But he seems very happy, very satisfied,
hmm,
not a care in the world.
yeah."
And also he's gonna make kissy kissy with mommy that night.
He is. Yeah, he and Saguchi start to get it on, and then Koyama makes good on his threat, and he shows
Mhm.
up in her room that night,
Yeah.
and so he and Yoshida get into a fight. And I love so they have to like pull Yoshida off of Koyama. He's trying to choke him out,
Yeah.
and Sakaguchi is just like, "Everyone wants me," she
I
tells
know.
Akiko. Yeah.
This one right here. And she like applies makeup. She's like, "Poo, poo, everybody loves me. All the boys are fighting over me. Isn't this great?
So the next thing we know in our group, Yoshida enters the cabin with a rifle, with that rifle, points it
Mhm.
at the group, and he says, I'm just going to kill everyone here because
I'm just going to kill all the men.
I'm going to kill all the men and take these women. In fact, who I want more than Sekiguchi is I want Akiko. That's who I want.
Oh,
And he says, what are they going to do? Convict me? Apparently, eating those mushrooms turns you into the Matango monster. If I'm a mushroom, they can't convict me.
I
Who
won't be a
fucking
person anymore.
cares? Oh my,
Uh-oh.
oh my goodness. But they managed to, not for the last time in this movie, wrestle that rifle out of his hands.
Yep.
And it's Sakuda who grabs Yoshida, throws him in the captain's quarters, grabs Kasai, yanks him out,
Yeah.
and it's like, he lives there now. That's the jail. You sleep
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Kasai goes to Sakuda
Yeah.
because they've
Sakuda's
managed
working
to
on
pull the
this.
ship in.
Okay. Also, can we
Yes,
talk
please.
about the repair job he's doing on this ship?
Please.
Because literally the repairing they're doing is just taking planks of 2x4s and just placing them willy-nilly on surfaces.
Yeah, they must have lost the level in the storm. Like,
Yo,
nobody is.
I was like, you guys, I don't know if I, I think you should be like, I don't know if you this is where we need to be putting our energy.
Yeah.
Maybe making not just like just stacking it. It's
It's a
weird.
really weird set of choices because I feel like the number one thing you need to fix is the mast.
Yeah.
If you fix the mast, you don't necessarily need a motor. You just
Yeah.
need wind at
Yeah.
that point.
I'd say
So,
you fix the hold, make sure
yeah,
we know
make sure, yeah,
she's watertight. Okay,
yeah,
that's probably, but yeah,
yeah.
you need something to propel forward.
Hmm.
So while Sakuda's doing this, Kasai comes in. He's like, "Hey, I know I was a little angry earlier. You know,
Mm.
you know about ships, and we've got like enough food for everybody for 7 people for like 3 or 4 days. But if just you and me sneak off on this ship, we have food for like 2 weeks. And if we like take some water as well, that's a few more days. And we might get rescued by then."
Hmm.
And Sakuda just like pops him one in the nose. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here, you traitorous, mutinous bastard."
I love that beat because in that moment, I am thinking what I've thought of Sakuda this whole time, which is this man is the leader we need
Yeah.
but don't deserve.
Yeah.
But I think at this moment, I think he hits Kasai not because he's mutinous, but because that's my plan, but minus you.
Oh shit. Yeah. Well,
And
see, okay, I can see that. I thought I interpreted as like Kasai sort of plants the idea in his
oh, could be
head.
that too. Yeah.
He's like, "Oh fuck, if somebody else is starting to think splinter off, then I need to splinter off before, you know."
Yeah.
Because Sakuda does seem pretty, like you said, like he's the one who's doing a lot of the work without getting the credit,
Yes.
So I think eventually he's like, "Well, fuck, I know how this ship works. I'm the only one working on this ship.
Uh-huh.
Peace out."
Yeah. Yeah, either way, that's going to be his plan. And it's not long after that. I kind of, in this next scene, where Mirai and Akiko come back to the hold and hear
Mhm.
Kasai down there
Yeah.
moaning for help, they find him all tied up in the hole. And he says, hey, Sakuda did this. He took all of our canned food
Took
and
all the food.
fucking he's gone. And I thought in this moment that it was Kasai framing him
Oh,
or
sure.
but
Yep. No,
you,
that is factually true.
yeah.
That ship is gone.
But he is right. He's gone. Koyama like realizes, oh shit, let me check on my eggs because if all the canned food is gone,
Hmm.
and he realizes his eggs are stolen too, and that ship is gone. So Sakuda has been like, you know what? I don't need these pieces of shit
That's
at
right.
all,
That's right.
and I kind of don't blame him.
I know. That's bad.
It's
Yeah.
bad. It's bad.
It's
It's so
bad. It's real
selfish.
bad.
It's the everyone really. It's a group of people that all kind of suck.
Yeah.
And but it is a moment where he reveals himself to also be
Yes.
self-interested as well.
Yeah. Like
He is
I'm for
not
the
the
group until the last minute when it really counts, and then
yeah.
off I go.
Yep.
And it's like it's really hard because he is kind of the most pragmatic and also kind of has like the least stupid ideas, you know? And then he just kind of slips away. Like he doesn't share anything. He doesn't share his plan. He just bye.
Hold on 2 seconds here. Hang on just a second. Oh, shit. I just did something that caused my recording to skip.
Okay.
Or like it
Need to
caused my
restart it.
recording to stop. I was switching windows
Oh.
uh, to pull. I was pulling up my Audacity, and I
Mhm.
think in just trying to click on the
Oh.
window, I think I hit the stop button because I wanted to see where we were time wise. Can you pick up where you left off? I'm sorry, Cecil. Or do you
Yeah,
remember?
it seems really abrupt. Sakuta's leaving.
Yeah,
Both in the narrative and also because he's been the most pragmatic in the least sucky of the group. And then it's just he's gone.
it's so disappointing, right?
Yeah.
To that feeling that like, oh, the guy we thought was could bring us all together never
Yeah.
could. So now we're hitting this kind of like full on breaking point because
Oh
now the
yeah.
one guy who could have saved us is gone. All hell's gonna break loose, and here is Yoshida and Mami Sekaguchi showing up. He's got the rifle, he's pointing it at the group, and he just basically says, give us a Kiko. Like both of
Yeah.
them, like we want a
Yeah.
Kiko for our little thruple, our mushroom thruple.
Mushroom thruple.
God damn it, I gotta get the band names document up here. Yeah, it is absolute mushroom thruple that they're trying to get here. But this is the moment that Koyama shows up at the ship, and Yoshida immediately turns and just blows him away.
Cold blood murder.
Cold blooded murders, like 3 shots in the chest.
Yeah.
And the other two boys take that moment to wrestle the gun away from him. And they
They
exile him.
exile Yoshida and Mamie.
Yes.
They're like, off the ship you go, which I think is just so funny. The idea of exile is like, you're just going to sit 200 yards down the sand and be like, oh no.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. This is kind of the classic horror movie conundrum wherein a character doesn't finish off who
Yeah.
the audience knows to be the ultimate killer.
Yeah. And we know it's bad because the next shot is of sort of a cross, homemade cross stuck in the sand for Koyama. And Mamie is just like standing in the rain, staring at it. And you're like, oh, this lady is she's going crazy.
Hmm.
She's going mushroom crazy. That's the other thing is that when Yoshida's looking a little mossy, let's say.
Yeah, he's getting a little like gray in the neck and
Mm-hmm.
cheek. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're down to the last kind of our last three. We have Kasai, Mirai, and Akiko, and it has been nearly 2 weeks now. It
Yeah.
is the rainy season.
Yep.
Kasai is like, hey, can you just kill me? Because I can't even bring myself to kill myself, and I think I'm done. I cannot handle this.
This is the most this is the most satire indictment of power. You know,
Yeah.
the boss CEO who's like the titan, the men of men back in society is like the laid the lowest.
Uh-huh.
And you've got Mirai and Akiko just being like, no, no, we'll take care of you. Don't give up hope. You know what? You don't even need to go foraging today. You just sit there. We'll do all the work for you until you feel better.
Mm-hmm. Well, he while they're gone foraging, that's when Mamie arrives and sees Kasai, and Kasai is like, can you please? You look so well fed. You look
Yeah.
so healthy, so beautiful. Could you just help me with whatever food you have?
Come with me.
I like that
Come
she
with me.
says, "Oh, you finally said it. You finally said, help me."
Help me. That's
So
all I've been
sure.
waiting for.
Yeah. Come along.
Come along to Mushroom Forest.
This is when we get full giggle fest.
It's so like the mushrooms love the rain.
Hmm.
Like they're kind of throbbing in they grow, they pulsate, they get a little bit bigger. And she's like, the mushrooms love the rain. What's interesting about the mushrooms and the people on them, it has a little bit of a psychedelic effect,
Yes.
but it's really more kind of like Odyssey Lotus Eaters of a like, come with us. It's almost Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's like,
Totally.
don't you want to submit? There's
Yeah.
no pain here.
Yeah.
There's no suffering. There's no there's no individuality, sure, but everyone shares everything. It's less zombie and more culty.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally. I mean, I think this was kind of like the Irish vampires and sinners, right? Like the
Yeah,
that it
yeah.
is. It's not.
Join the collective.
Yeah.
Give up your traumas of the past. Nobody hurts here.
Yeah. Look at the pain you're in now. We
Yeah.
can solve this for you. Yeah. And that's when she like plucks a mushroom, and it's great. This is so what's the word I'm looking for? Like, oh, it just looks like an advertisement. She like this
Yes.
beautiful woman,
Yeah.
brightly colored scarf and
Hmm.
lipstick and beautiful hair and
And
makeup,
her
and
little pink mushroom.
she plucks the little pink mushroom and then kind of does the little model bite of a,
Yeah, I know,
oh,
right?
so
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
And he's like, I want one, and he eats one, and he feels great.
And he starts seeing twinkly lights, and we get a full on, and maybe not as much as Jingoku,
Uh-huh.
which is definitely kind of in our 60s psychedelic Japanese horror canon.
Totally.
But it's very like he gets this sort of fantasy of like girls in feathered boas and head like Vegas showgirls,
Right.
contortionists doing backflips.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I read something interesting that mushrooms, psychedelics, were becoming a bit of a problem in the 60s in Japan
Okay.
because there became a kind of a as the hippies sort of discovered, quote unquote discovered, Zen Buddhism, they started showing up to temple on drugs.
Oh shit.
And people were like, hey, we should do something about this. But whatever the word for psilocybin
Uh-huh.
mushrooms did not become illegal in Japan until 2002.
Interesting.
It was like a weird loophole that the psychedelic part was illegal, but the mushrooms were okay. And actually, in the 60s, apparently, you could even buy them in vending machines.
Wow.
So Japan has this like kind of it's an interesting relationship to drugs. It's a very like we don't do drugs kind of
Uh-huh.
culture, right? Like we drink, that's what we do. We have incorporated it fully into every aspect of our society.
Uh-huh.
Drugs, bad, super
Yeah.
bad. And if you've seen Enter the Void, very bad.
Uh-huh.
But this is this kind of like, is this movie an anti-drug propaganda?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's a good question. I had that thought of it. You can read it from the don't, hey kids, don't do drugs. Look at what'll
Right?
happen to
This is your
you.
brain on drugs. You're going to see Vegas showgirls.
But I also had a thought too of like why I brought up Sinners, because I remember feeling that way in Sinners, where like this is not completely objectionable to want to be
Right?
bitten by these vampires because there is a world that they are promising that is not
Yeah.
filled with racial hate, that is filled
Yeah.
with community and whatever else. Now, there's some drawbacks because you have to live a life that isn't the baseline cultural norm that
Right.
you feel is morally correct and good.
You must change.
You must change and you can't go back, but
Yeah.
you can find new peace here. So, in a way
Yeah.
that I was like, I don't know necessarily that this is totally that these
This is not
mushroom
drugs
people
are
are all
bad.
bad. No.
It's almost it's like drugs are mysterious.
Yeah. And so there's a countercultural quality to the mushroom people in this movie that
Yeah.
because these people are so awful,
Yeah.
it's not like I watched Kasai when he eats this mushroom and become happy. I actually watched him improve as a person,
I know.
and I watched Sekiguchi improve as a person.
Yeah.
That they're no longer like they're welcoming you in. I mean, there's a horror movie villain to like, yes, come with me,
Of course.
surreptitiously, whatever.
Absolutely.
But these mushrooms aren't trying to hurt or eat people. They're trying to what looks like just hug them.
That's it. Because I was like, oh, mushroom zombies,
Mm-mm.
aka Last of Us. No. It's like join us.
Yeah,
Come and get a hug from Mushroom Daddy.
yeah. There's a moment where he like shoots one of the mushroom people over, and all the other mushrooms are just still laughing.
They
And
just laugh.
yeah, because I don't think you can die either. I think you just
No.
live forever as this like mushroom world, which is all kind of one hive mind almost.
Mhm. We see it later. We see a mushroom person lose an entire arm, and he's like,
Yeah,
eh, I'll
yeah,
just go back and plant myself in the ground and grow another one.
yeah. So if this movie is going for an anti-drug vibe, I don't think it nails it, or it nails it in a way that is incomprehensible to me. Some
Right.
60
Right.
years later.
I think it's on the surface, but I think if you when you really sit with it, it is much more about the sort of the idea of counterculture
Hmm.
is the quote unquote bad guy of this movie.
Yeah, yeah. So it's it's interesting because also just culture is a bad guy of this movie
Sure.
too,
Oh
because
my God. Well, yeah,
everybody's
the
so
original.
foul.
I mean, it's these people. Well, it's yes, it's the look. Sometimes going back to the sort of the Lord of the Flies of like we have a very extreme pecking order
Hmm.
of society. We remove it and then watch everything fall to shit.
Yeah,
But then the island, this very natural, wonderful, beautiful island, offers you an escape from the shit and from
uh-huh.
the pecking order. Is it commun? Are the mushrooms communism?
Maybe, or maybe they are just counterculture. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it. And because there's
It's
when
like
they
join a cult, join a crazy religion in the mountains and be happy forever.
yeah, because like when they discovered the stuff in the lab, they were like, this is neither communist nor free
Yes.
world nor even like Japanese. This stuff.
No. Or it's a little bit of everything.
It's a little bit of all of the
So
things.
this like it's almost like these people have gone to this island. They've heard rumors about something that will cure. It's very Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This like
Mhm.
be happy forever. It's
Yeah,
going to heal society,
yeah.
but they kind of never make it off the island.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think Lotus Eaters is such a great way
Yeah.
of putting it. So, yeah, Kasai
But
is
now we're down to two.
now we're down to two, and Akiko and Mirai are together back in the ship, and Akiko is just like, I think it's impossible to escape from here.
Yeah.
We're almost out of food, and those mushrooms look so good. Maybe eating mushrooms is our only way out. And then he just straight up slaps her and
Yeah.
then says, I'm so sorry for hitting you. And then she says, you're always so sensible. And I'm like, what a series of
I know, right?
what a dialogue.
Woo!
Amazing.
That was a roller coaster of 5 seconds.
And he says, listen, one last push. If we find food before sundown, we can do it. I know we can
You
do
eat this
it.
yam, I'll eat a yam.
And
We're
I,
gonna get through this somehow.
I love how disgusting they make this
I
food
know.
look. All
I
of
know.
these
It's
fucking
like jicama.
That's what jicama is the word I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
Like, but
because
like gooey.
it's not a potato. Listen, potatoes, yams, one thing. This is like toothy,
Yeah.
very dry,
Yes.
and they're just like just like straight up like eating it like a carrot.
But before they can even like live out this day, like mushroom people attack, like full like zombie style
Yeah,
attack.
but
And
they're
it,
not there to kill. They want to abduct,
yes.
indoctrinate.
Yes. So this is where like the mushroom people seem kind of bad. I going back to the what we were just talking about, like what are the mushroom people like thematically? What are they saying?
Hmm.
I think in a lot of ways, I think they're just doing lots of different things. I don't know
Yeah,
that they like codified an exact
doesn't matter.
metaphor.
No, this is just what we're reading.
This is just what we're going through right
Yeah,
now, and we had mushroom people. Why not? Why not
yeah,
mushroom people on an island? Because mushrooms are being talked about. Plus, we're still dealing with like nuclear fallout. We're
yeah.
dealing with cultural shifts and changes.
I mean, it's also based on a short story
Yep.
that was, I don't think was Japanese. So it's
Hmm.
like, that I think the original short story was like two people on an island. It's more of like an Adam and Eve
Okay.
apple of,
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
thing. So like
Interesting.
many themes are kind of wrapped up in here.
So interesting. Well, Akiko gets captured by the Mushroom Man while Mirai is fighting
Do,
the other Mushroom Man.
do you know the Mushroom Man? He lives down Giggly Lane.
Uh, oh my God. And we get into the swamp.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
it's Mirai who shoots one of the mushroom people and they
Yeah.
just keep laughing.
Yeah.
But Akiko is sitting there and it's the first time in the whole movie she looks happy.
Oh my God. This shot, I actually took a picture of this to send to David for the art. Maybe he'll use it, maybe he won't.
Uh-huh.
But it's similar to maybe it's like Akiko. Like when Mirai finally finds her, she's just sitting there. She has this one perfect mushroom, and she is like it looks like a car ad
Yeah.
from Time magazine, Life magazine, or Look magazine, whatever the magazine of like the 60s was.
Hmm.
It, I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again with the beautiful women
Hmm.
modeling the product that we're selling. Again, kind of another form of ism, another form of
Yeah,
cult is
yeah,
materialism, right?
yeah,
Well, she's done. He's
yeah,
surrounded. He manages to run out of there. We see him swimming toward that boat. And he does like a little makeshift sail on the broken
yeah.
mast and is like, we're doing it. Hold on just a second. We've got Brooklyn emergencies. And then we've got the voiceover has worked its way back in. Present day. And he's like, I don't remember being rescued. I had to rewind this final scene because it took me a second to process what he said.
Hmm.
So he said, I got this part. He's like, if I truly loved her, I should have eaten the mushroom on that island to be with
Yeah,
Akiko forever. But I waited until I left. He got hungry on the boat and he had a mushroom with him
he had just one.
and he ate the mushroom while waiting on the boat, got rescued, got brought to an insane asylum, and now he turns around. He's turning into a mushroom,
Yeah, he's got the
Cecil.
little bubbly. And apparently there was an alternate ending that was filmed in which
Okay.
he doesn't have mushroom face.
Okay. Interesting.
I like this ending better. This, like, I held out until the very end, but even then I submitted and I'm still living with my decision to this day.
Yeah. It's the power of the mushroom people, the mushroom evangelists, right? Like
That's right.
you were too late. Like, can you
Hmm.
take me back to the island?
Yeah. And it's like the look of horror on the doctor's face. They're like, I mean, they literally recoil in horror
Uh-huh.
as he turns around, which is dumb because of course they know what he looks like.
Yeah. Although I will say I read that moment as in he didn't look like that at the start of his
Oh,
story.
no.
And then he
Okay.
turned around and they were like, "Oh shit. What's
Oh,
happening to
okay.
that dude's face?"
Ch-ch-ch-ch changes.
uh, the end.
The end. And
Shall
it
we?
kind of like pans out over neon Tokyo, and he's like, "The mushrooms may come for you." No, it's very much like society is. I'm not evil. The society is the evil.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not contributing anything to that evil. It's
No.
just evil around me.
Hmm.
Shall we rate this film?
Yes, let's.
All right, let's talk about how approachable is this horror movie. If you are horror movie averse, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being do not watch this movie if you're squeamish, and 10 being absolutely approachable, anyone could probably watch this movie, I'm going to give Matango, I'm going to give it just like 10 out of 10 crates of spamming. And yeah, I mean, it has some really great, solid monster movie, horror movie styles and scares, but it's not. It's so just simple. Like it's
Yeah.
almost it's rubber suit monster.
Yeah.
It's bright. It's beautiful. I think it's very effective. I think it's a rock solid movie. But it's not. I don't think you'll find it scary in this day and age or not at all. And
It's like what I call a matinee movie.
totally
You know, like it's not for kids per
no.
se, but it is like you want something light.
Yeah, yeah. I think the yeah, I don't think you're gonna get like jostled by any of the
No.
scares. I don't think you're gonna have any like nightmare fuel sitting with you. I think the only real like content warning is just Koyama's like threats of sexual assault.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Is
the people are the worst part about this movie.
yeah, yeah.
That's the horror.
Um so that's basically it. So yeah, like approachability 10 out of 10. To speak nothing of approachability, Cecil, how do you rate this as a horror film?
As a horror film, I gotta say it's pretty darn good. I mean, I find it really interesting that this is the director of Godzilla, who, made Godzilla, Mothra, Destroy All Monsters. He made a ton of these movies, and then he kind of took a break. And this is one of the first movies he came back with, is this. And this movie is dark. That, like than a lot of the other sort of kaiju, what the kaiju movies became.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's really interesting that it does have this, yes, Attack of the Mushroom People, rubber mushroom monster people.
Uh-huh.
But really, it's got a lot more to say about society is the real evil.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary to me.
Hmm.
So for that reason, and it's also just like kind of a 60s Technicolor romp,
Yes.
which I love. So I would say like 7 out of 10 ukulele solos.
Perfect. We'll say one more thing about that. I just, when we came off of The Substance last week,
Mhm.
coming into this movie, I thought, well, it'd be a nice departure from this movie with many layers of thought of
Mhm.
it's playing with a lot of
It's gonna be
themes
silly
about
and dumb.
society. And here I was like, let's watch a silly rubber suited monster movie. And I'm like, we have a lot of layers of society in this film
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure out what movie we are going to watch next. You've got a scare die. I've got a style die. We'll roll those up and see what movie matches those two things. Cecil, on your scare die, if you roll a 1, our next movie scare is End of the World. 2, Bad Mom, Bad Dad. 3, Ghost. 4, Wild Card. 5, Magic with a K. Or 6, Mind Games. What's our scare?
That's a 6.
Mind Games. All right, we're going to match up your mind games with whatever style that I roll on my dice. And if I roll a 1, if I roll a 1, our next movie scare is, or God, cannot talk. If I roll a 1, our next movie style is black and white. 2, a B movie. 3, something with a one-word title. 4, a movie specifically from the year 1991, a year we have not covered yet. 5, horror homework, a horror movie essential. Or 6, it's got to be based on a book. See what I got for style. I got a 2, a B movie.
Mind game B movie.
Mind game B movie.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I think there's a couple on here.
Yeah. Maybe not the strongest combination on the board, but I think we can work with this.
Yeah. This is a weird matchup where both those categories have some awesome matchups if they fit with something else, but
they're like, we want it intellectual, but not intellectual at all.
Yep. All right, so we always write down a few that would fit each matchup, but we also are on Letterboxd at Random Horror 9, and you can go follow us there and look at our lists, and you'll see lists of all possible matchups, and you can contribute to those lists of films that could fit these matchups. So let's look at the ones that we have written down for ourselves, and then we'll check in on Letterboxd. So I wrote down, honestly, Cecil, we could do any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, for sure.
Total Mind Games. That's Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger's whole bit.
Yeah.
They're very B movie.
Yeah.
Another kind of franchise of shitty films or like fun films is Puppet Master.
You know, you want to know a confession? I have never seen any
I
of
haven't
the
either.
Puppet Master films.
Haven't either.
Like I just it was never. I think it was like two. I just never watched them when I was a kid.
Hmm. Another one is People Under the Stairs.
Oh, for sure.
There's
Yeah,
definitely
this
a
is cat
keeping.
and mouse
Mhm.
for sure. Mind game movie.
There's some question about like what makes a B movie that I had
Sure.
in my head
Mhm.
of like when is it? Because I think this next one is one that fits more B movie, a little bit of Mind Games, which is Terrifier. We've covered
Yeah,
Terrifier 2.
sure.
Um, but that is definitely B movie. The Terrifier
Oh
films are
yeah. Yeah.
absolutely no questions asked. Another one that I put on here that I think I pulled from a list. I don't think I have seen this movie at all, but this is called The Collector from
I've heard of it.
2009.
I've not seen it.
So this is desperate to repay his debt to his ex-wife, and ex-con plots a heist at his new employer's country home, unaware that a second criminal has also targeted the property and rigged it with a series of deadly traps. It
I
does
love
sound fun. I
I
like
love
the
deadly
basic
traps.
concept.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's good.
It's very like the hunter becomes the hunted.
Yeah. We also have Cube, which I have never seen.
You know, I saw this movie when it came out.
Hmm.
And I think this is one of the like kind of not unsung, but like more underrated horror movies of its time.
Okay, yeah. I get that sense it
It's
does have a big
minimalist.
following. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was just really different than what a lot of the other quote horror movies were at the time.
Yeah. And it predates Saw and the whole like
Hmm.
escape room phenomenon that we got into in like the 2010s.
Yeah.
And finally on our list is The Running Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Richard Dawson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely a mind game. It is Man is the deadliest game, and it is very B movie. It's so Stephen King
Oh, sure.
adaptation, 80s
Sure.
action film. All right, let's see what people on Letterboxd had to say.
So we've got Emma Totti throwing it in for Terrifier. We've got Cronenberg TA throwing it in for People on the Stairs. Call Me Ishmael throws in Skeleton Key. Might work for this. And I like the mind games aspect. I don't know if this counts as a B movie. This has like A list
Yeah,
actors in it.
but that kind of brings up the question because like Running
What
Man
is a B?
feels very B movie, but it's mostly because it's dated. But at the
Yeah.
time, it was like summer blockbustery
Yeah.
sort of
Like
thing.
in my mind, a B movie is like you go to a drive-in. The first picture starts at 8. The B movie starts at like 10.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's what's second on the bill when the kids go to bed and only the like teenagers are up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Same with RHI recommends Final Destination. And I'm like, okay, that's a little more B movie, but also that was like pretty A movie summer blockbuster.
Yeah, huge franchise.
Fifth Hammer recommends April Fool's Day from 1986. This is a B movie, I feel.
Okay, yep.
A group of college students decides to spend a spring break on a secluded island estate with their wealthy classmate Muffy St. John, which is an amazing drag name if you're keeping score. And what starts out as fun, hedonistic weekend turns into something more sinister.
Brilliant. Still never seen this.
Yeah, I've not seen it either, actually. Diamond Dogs recommends The Perfection from 2018. Former music prodigy returns to her old school and begins to befriend the school's new star pupil, but it turns out she has a hidden agenda. they're kind of Diamond Dogs is saying that most Netflix originals could count as B movies to them. And this movie is bonkers, and we have to cover it someday. I've seen this movie. It's come up on a couple of lists
Hmm.
that I've been like, "Ooh, this looks intriguing."
Yeah.
I definitely think it's going to nail the mind games aspect. Some votes for People Under the Stairs. Max Bird recommends Milk and Cereal from 2024,
Hmm.
made on an $800 budget.
What? Like my mind immediately just said $800,000, but like I added a K at the end of
Yeah,
that. Oh my
no,
God.
$800 budget and released for free on YouTube because the creator didn't want a distributor to put it behind a paywall.
Huh.
And they said, oh my God, they said they felt like they needed to take a shower after watching it. The plot synopsis is a surprise birthday prank takes a turn for the worse when a popular social media duo must face the reality of the terrifying aftermath.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Robert Baroness recommends I'm Just Fucking With You,
Hmm.
a Hulu original released as part of Into Dark. Gut-wrenching depiction of an internet troll being tormented by a killer who's just an advanced version of himself.
Okay.
Oh no, the troll gets trolled. Weaponized Toaster recommends a couple. Nothing But Trouble from 1991. Businessman and
Oh
friends are
yeah.
captured by a sadistic judge and his equally odd family in a bizarre mansion in the backwoods. Horror comedy starring Dan Aykroyd and John Candy.
I remember this
Chevy
movie. It's
Chase, Demi Moore.
bonkers.
Oh my God. Yeah, I have no idea, but this cast is bananas. They also recommend Raise from 2013. A woman, played by Zoe Bell, is abducted and brought to an underground lair where she is forced to fight other innocent victims for the amusement of unseen spectators.
Okay.
And they mentioned Zoe Bell is the stunt woman for Lucy Lawless and Xena and Uma Thurman and Kill Bill. Oh, that's it. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she is really good. She's great. They also recommend Would You Rather from 2012. Iris and seven other desperate people become trapped in Shepard's mansion, but Shepard forces them to play a sadistic game for a large sum of money. But the dilemmas become increasingly deadly. Milo Who recommends The Brain from 1988, a Canadian B horror about a giant alien brain that controls people's minds through TV. Mind you, it has a whopping 35% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's still dumb, can't be fun. Aetherius recommends Stitches from 2001. A shape-shifting demon uses her infernal powers to manipulate the residents of a boarding house into surrendering their souls.
Oh, nice. Okay. I love that.
What's the appropriate Hallmark card for that occasion? I don't know. Watch Radio recommends Perfect Host from 2010. A thief cons his way into a sophisticated suburban dinner party and has the time of his life.
Nice.
Fun. Martin recommends Triangle from 2009. Five people out at sea on a yacht.
Oh,
Like
great.
Overwatch.
Yep. Sounds familiar.
With a sudden devastating storm, which leaves them capsized, and as luck would have it, a cruise liner comes by to save them. But when they board it, they discover it's empty, except for a masked stranger trying to kill them.
Nice.
Half Price Horror recommends Night Moves with a K, a undeservedly obscure psychological thriller from 1992.
Uh-huh.
Two children play chess, and one of them develops an unhealthy and murderous obsession with the other. But which one is which? Wild.
Interesting.
Kitsch Wizard also strongly seconds Nothing But Trouble, saying this is an absolute shit show that everyone who enjoys a WTF movie needs to see. Rube Goldberg murder machines, mutant man babies, and the digital underground are just some weirdness.
Oh, I forgot about the God, I remember watching this movie as a kid, like teenager.
Weird.
Okay.
Weird. Library Tune seconds People on Stairs and Puppet Master, some A. Simon, People on Stairs, The Perfection. They also recommend A Deadly Blessing from 1981. A recent widow prepares to move out of her country home and back to the city, only to be set upon by her late husband's super religious family who believes she is a demon who
Okay.
stole their son. And also The Screaming Skull from 1958. A newlywed couple arrive at their husband's estate. The wife fears that the ghost of the husband's first wife is haunting her. But is it really a ghost haunting her or someone else? I think I put this one under black and white mind games as well, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
B Harps recommends Resolution from 2012. $20,000 budget focused on two friends in a cabin where Chris has been squatting and slowly killing himself with meth until his best friend Mike receives a video and finds him, handcuffs him to a wall, and waits for him to get dry. But who sent the tape? And how are they being manipulated? Weirdly enough, this sounds like the remake of Evil Dead,
Oh,
kind of,
yeah.
except
Yeah.
without, the Evil Dead.
Right, right.
Let's see. Liam recommends 1978's Cat and the Canary, an adaptation of the 1922 play directed by a porn director. Much better than you would expect.
Okay.
A lot happens in that description. I'm
Uh-huh.
not sure what it's about, but I like the description. And finally, Rip Van Nicky recommends Intruder from 1989. Bloody, fun, late 80s romp through the world's most convoluted grocery store
What? I'm just now
with
hearing about this movie.
the biggest knives they've ever seen, both Raimis, a lesser known Estevez, and some of the most hilarious Foley work I've ever heard. This is B movie perfection.
Okay. This is interesting. Well, I'm pulling this movie up now that looks
Same.
like where to watch.
Oh, Bruce Campbell, both Raimis. Yeah. It's about the night crew of Walnut Lake Supermarket being stalked and downed by a killer one night as they work the last night before the store closes.
Yeah, so this is the mind games of this would be along the lines of just a killer
Cat and
picking
mouse.
people off
Yes,
one at a time. Yeah.
for sure.
Less cube saw territory.
Yeah. I do like that the tagline is he's just crazy about this store.
Okay.
Okay,
Just a
Mind
second here.
Games B movie. Okay, so clearly we've got these are the popular votes. Seem to be People Under the Stairs,
Uh-huh.
The Collector.
Yeah, I got a couple of little upvotes. Um, there was a
The
backup vote for
Perfection, kinda.
Terrifier in there.
Terrifier. Um,
A couple people suggesting Nothing But Trouble as like just a shit show WTF type of movie.
yeah.
I gotta tell you, there's two movies on here that I think
Okay. What's calling out to you? What's your heart
fit the
singing
bill.
for? Okay.
Okay, one is Cube because
Yeah.
it was released with very little fanfare,
Yeah.
but it has garnered this. I still think in today's day and age, if we had the double bill show, I feel like
Mhm.
the A movie is Saw, the B movie is
Yeah.
Cube,
I
right?
buy that. Yeah.
And it doesn't have big stars, whatever else, cult following. I think it'd be a almost horror homework to have to
Sure.
watch this movie. But man, Rip Van Nicky did a hard sell that I'm convinced on Intruder. Like that sounds bonkers. The collection of people involved in this movie,
Yeah.
just kind of it is a B movie.
It looks, see, Saw, excuse me, Cube, I would almost put it under like indie film rather
Yeah.
than B movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. Intruder
Okay.
seems to fit the B movie vibe to
Intruder,
perfection.
Puppet Master.
Uh-huh. Now question about Puppet Master when I went back and relooked
Yeah.
at just the description. It didn't feel that mind gamey other
Yeah.
than
I think it's like dude sends puppets after
yeah.
Nazis, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or person is Nazi, Nazi
Yeah.
puppets. I'm
Sure.
confused. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. But then People Under the Stairs, it does see like that movie is very cat and mouse mind games. It is very B movie.
Mm-hmm. And it stars Sam Raimi as not even as a director. It just I'm sorry. You were talking about Intruder? Hold on.
No, I was talking about People Under the Stairs.
Oh, People Under the Stairs. Sorry, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, People Under the Stairs, because it's Wes Anderson. God damn it. I cannot talk. Because it's Wes. I want to see Wes Anderson's People Under the Stairs first
Yeah,
off.
I do as well.
Because it's Wes Craven.
Oh my God, Wes Anderson. Why hasn't Wes Anderson done a horror film?
Because it's Wes Craven, is that B movie?
Yeah. Yeah. It's got like Ving Rhames.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know. Okay. You know what? I think really to fit the B movie cheese, I think Intruder might be the way to go.
I think so too. I think when the movie fits. I think
Because
B
a
movie
lot
is
of-
more specific and
Yes.
harder to pin down
Yes, it's
than
true.
Mind Games.
Yeah.
And so I think that sort of feels like the priority of the two roles.
Because a lot of things like The Collector or Perfect Host or The Perfection seem to me like more indie film.
Yep.
Small budget, like just because has a small budget doesn't mean it's a B movie. B movie does imply like sort of a level of cheesiness
Mhm.
that, and honestly, Rip Van Nicky, you nailed it. Like that description. So I think you might have turned us both. Intruder, 1989.
I'm so excited for this movie. Let me
This
pause
movie
for-
is available, correct?
I'm just doing one last check here, to make sure that we are good to go.
I mean, as soon as I saw the poster art,
Shudder.
I'm
It's
like
on
this.
Shudder.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect. This
perfect.
is a B movie.
Yes.
I think that's the move.
I think that's the move. Thank you, Rip Van Nicky. I love it when you guys come through on Letterboxd with a great sale. And I'm so excited to watch this. So thank
Always
you all.
be closing. Always be closing.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. If you have thoughts on Matango or ideas for other movies that would have been good mind game B movies, let us know at Random Horror 9 on Blue Sky, Instagram, or on Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for every episode. And you don't have to be a paying Patreon member to participate. And watch Intruder from 1989 with us this week. And come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no salad ingredients laughing at you or nothing. Boo!
Boo!